Oh, man. Come on, we are out here. Welcome into the Justin Perri Show, late night. You know, we try to bring in the best guests, the best names, the biggest, brightest stars in the college basketball betting space, analytics space. We're going to be doing baseball over the summer, of course. This is a late night stream, which means you never really know when it's going to happen, who's going to show up, what the vibes are really going to be. We're going to have a good time with it no matter what. I am joined tonight by one of my good friends in this industry. That is Mr. Kyle Hunter, otherwise known as Kyle Hunter Picks. Kyle, welcome into late night on the Justin Perri Show. How's your evening going?
Man, it's good to be here. It's been a good evening thus far. Went out, the kids had softball and baseball practice, came back, got to see little basketball, got a win on my first under here of the night. The other one's still going on, so I don't want to say too much about it yet. But yeah, it's been a good night. We're looking forward to the week ahead, man. This is a busy time, but you know this. I mean, if you're a college basketball fan, this is our time of the year.
It's a great time of the year. I just hit my pick of the day, which is really nice. Avoid our first 4-game skid has yet to happen. I don't know how I've managed to pull that off over the course of the season, but for shot quality bets, my pick of the day avoids the 4-game skid with a nice over on that SoCon championship, Southland championship between not championships, semifinal between Texas A&M and Nichols. So that's nice. Not my best night. So including that, sitting like 4 and 6 pregame, I think, assuming that I haven't seen the final score come in yet, but I don't think AMCC is covering unless there's some miracle going on in overtime. I'll bring up a nice scoreboard for us. Yeah. Oh, that might happen. It is 69-69 with 5 seconds left. So some really nice action out there right now. Hopefully you guys out there, dual screen, watching some hoops, watching us talk about some hoops, but it's late night. We'll get into a little bit of everything, Kyle. What has been, off the bat, what's been your takeaway so far through like the first week of what I kind of consider an extension of March Madness, right? Like we are fighting for those very spots that everybody tunes in for. This is one of my favorite periods that isn't the field of 68. I don't know. What have you been feeling? What have some of your takeaways been?
Yeah, I mean, I love this time of the year. I can't quite pick it over March Madness. I know some people say the conference tournament weeks are better. There are more games, so it's fantastic. Since I was a kid, I love the first week in March Madness. That still has to be number one for me. But I do love this as well. As far as the last, few days, last week, we had some of the typical Arch Madness unders. Those were great again until you got to the last couple games. I think that makes sense though, Justin. The first time you shoot in that bigger gym, the first games are going to be lower. You kind of get used to it the second and third game a little bit. So that's something to kind of watch as we go forward. We can talk about some of the games where there may be some venues that could be under venues, Madison Square Garden. Big East. We can talk about that here coming up. But
Barclays today too, A10.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the Fordham Davidson game, what a game that was. I think it stayed under for most people, even with the overtime, just because Davidson could only score 2 points in overtime. But yeah, this has been there's been quite a few upsets. I kind of hate to see some of the upsets like the Big Sky. I wanted to see like a Weber or Eastern Washington or somebody, just because you want to see those small teams get a good team into the good conference and get one of the best teams into the big dance, because I really don't think one of the teams that gets in from there is going to have much of a chance. I like to root for the little guy.
Yeah, me too. And we are officially getting overtime in Nichols, AM, Corpus Christi. So that'll be fun to sweat out. Talk about the little guy, I mean, South Dakota State is kind of crushing the little guy in Denver. They were out to a 37-23 lead at the half, currently up 11 and closing 3 minutes. Probably, would take some true March Madness. Do you think, you're talking about seeing some of those best teams go? I agree. It's likely best for the conference to have those top teams. And on previous episodes of the show in the last week or so, we've talked about, actually this week, it's bracketology week. So we've been talking a little bit about organizing the bracket, how you would do it, if you think it's better for those top teams to maybe get that easy pass. South Dakota State's just kind of done it. But what do you make of conferences maybe organizing their tournaments so their best teams, a la WCC, kind of have this very easy path into the big dance?
I think if I were the conference trying to get the best team in, that's what I would do. I mean, Is it the best as a fan? You can argue that, but I don't blame them. I mean, you want to get the best teams in there, and the regular season has to be worth something. Those teams performed great throughout the regular season. So, you probably should make it a little harder for the teams that perform poorly in the regular season. So I know some people are adamantly against it. I'm okay with it. Obviously only having to play 2 games feels a little bit cheap at times, but who was going to be, like, if we're talking about WCC, who was going to beat Gonzaga and St. Mary's anyways?
Well,
I mean, those were going to be the teams that were going to be in the finals.
Yeah. And that just came to a close. St. Mary's getting a 9-point win there as the final. Of course, expecting both those teams to still be there. No crazy bid steal. It likely would have had to be the San Francisco Dons last night. It did not happen. So nothing crazy. Bubble teams breathing a little sigh of relief there in the WCC, which I think, kind of fun, an exciting part of this week to see who is maybe going to make a team like, my favorite St. John's squirm a little come Selection Sunday. And we are so close. I mean, Kyle, what are your, favorite parts of this week? Are you just, licking your lips, waiting for the bracket? Are you really just dialed in, trying to get your last bets in the conference tournaments because you find them very beatable? Where's your head at as we kind of get into this, main event of our season? We've been grinding since November and we're finally here. So interested to kind of hear your thought process.
Yeah, my favorite day as a fan is Selection Sunday, like the build up to Selection Sunday and seeing those brackets, the blank bracket turning into, I used to, as a kid, always want to fill out the bracket, but it just seems a little ridiculous to fill it out when you can just print it right afterwards. I do love the bracket being there. As a handicapper, I really like the Saturday right before too, where you get like the Big East final. You get the what is the Big 12 going to be final on Saturday? Some of those really good games back to back, and you just get to see high quality action consistently game after game. And then of course you've got Sunday with the Big Ten finishing it up. I think those couple days, Saturday and Sunday, I like to build up to that. Always nice to see an upset or two here or there, but I still like to see the really good matchups. The top team versus the second or third team is going to be fun. And I think this is one of those times of the year where you have to be willing to grind the games. You don't know who's going to play each other till late the night before. So the lines don't come out here as early. Sometimes these lines come out 4 a.m, crazy things like that. I do keep some really weird hours, and I'm a night owl, so it's easier for me to come on this show at night than it is for me to come on the show during the day. I mean, it works out. It works out.
Yep. Yeah, no, totally understand and appreciate you being on here late night with us as we do this. We're going to be doing a lot more late night streams, really enjoying the opportunity to maybe bring on some guests. Of course, we do the show, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 p.m. can be difficult for some. That's why we have the late night. We're going to do a midday stream, I believe, on Thursday as well. So trying to make sure all the different guests can come in. We can have a lot of different voices featured here on the show. Kyle, you do a lot of great work. I mean, you've been grinding in the college basketball streets for a long time. Tell people who maybe aren't fully familiar with you, I guess maybe a little bit about your handicapping process. I know you use a lot of the shot quality data. That's how you and I originally got acquainted and have gotten to know each other. But, everyone's different. And I think that talking about process can, maybe help you find some people who like the way you think, which, I know I'm one of.
Yeah. See, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah. It sounds pretty good. I just might boost the volume just a little bit here, but I think you're all right.
Cool. The mic was acting up a little bit, so
It
switch it up
happens.
a bit. Whatever you got to do. But I think for me, the way I bet a lot of totals. I like totals quite a bit more than against the spread bets. I know I get people who say, I don't want to bet totals all the time. I mean, I just think I'm better at totals. So I want to bet what I think I'm going to win more often, So I'm obviously going to bet some sides, but I like totals because I like to be able to see what I think is going to happen when one team matches up against another. Like two fast-paced teams, you get the ultra fast pace. The pace war games are really games that I like a lot because usually I tend to think the better team is the one that controls the pace. And I also think it's easier to slow a team down than it is to speed them up. Some of these teams like a St. Mary's, you're not running against St. Mary's. Like that's how they play. They've turned every game against Gonzaga this year, a Gonzaga team that wants to play pretty quick, into a lower scoring game. That defense is great. They win the rebounding battle. So for me, I like to look at those intriguing matchups. The other thing I like, and I know you like this, is way under the radar conferences. Like I'm not betting Duke and North Carolina. I'm betting, Merrimack, Wagner. Those are the type of games that I really like.
My guy, of course. No, yeah, it's really, I think at this point, it's not a secret that anyone needs to keep. It makes the most sense to talk about it myself. Like you want to win, probably should stay away from betting the games with the highest volume, therefore the sharpest lines, the most signals, everything the bookmakers want to, get a really sharp number that over time, you just collect that juice, right? And it's a good 50-50. That's what, in effect, they're hoping to get. And on the SEC, on the Big 12, on the Big East, I think they have a better chance at doing that night in and night out, compared to the Southland, compared to the, maybe get a little crazy and go down to the SWAC. But that middle, I love my MAAC. I love even the A10. You can get a little bit away from it. Anything mid-major to me is just so fun. Single bid conferences for sure. I love that though. The totals, it's definitely something I feel like a lot of people look away from. There's maybe not that same, I don't know. I hesitate to say fun per se, but like choosing the right side, choosing the winner, calling the right team kind of has this different style to it than being like, oh, a lot of points, little points. It's different. But I mean, some of the sharpest people I know focus totals. I know like my shot quality pick of the day has been a majority of totals, and that's the best return I've had on any single like vertical of my play ever. So there's something there. There's specific sort of things, any metrics that have been super helpful in terms of looking at it. Are you really just trying to say, all right, well, St. Mary's probably going to be the better team. Maybe I think they win, so they dictate the pace. This game comes in 129 compared to the line, which is like 139 against Gonzaga tonight. So I don't know. Are you? Is it sort of just all matchup, or are you looking for specific things like, I don't know, shot quality over performances, hot shooting nights, going into cold shooting nights, road away spots? There's so much. So obviously you've done this well for a long time. Any shared wisdom is super appreciated.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm kind of at that intersection of like the old and the new, because I do like to do some things old style. I've got my notebook here sitting by me where I write down my leans at night. I still like to do some of this old school. And in this notebook where I've even written some leans for tomorrow, I go in and I do have a basic kind of function that just is, it's not really a model per se. It depends on what you say model. I don't have this
system
through where it's more of a system, but I'm projecting out the pace. I'm projecting the pace, efficiency. So you say, okay, I think there's going to be 68 possessions in this game. I think this team's going to average 1.1 points per possession. This team will average this. So I'm running this through Excel with just some basic functions. But what I really like to do is look for tempo changes, teams that kind of change things in the middle of the season. and or just this aberration, something that really sticks out, which that's where shot quality comes in for me. Because years ago, there were times that I would sit and watch these games and I'd say, man, I feel like this was really the right play. Like this was an under. I mean, they were holding it the entire clock every single time, but they're making every shot. It's the way it goes. And now when I can go in there and say, okay, it got to 158 points and I had under 140, and somebody's going to think I'm an idiot. But actually, shot quality says this one should have been 129. And it's one of those mixed things where you can be a little bit upset, or you can say, hey, this is good because I was along the right lines. Overall, it is a good thing. But I think it's also really helpful to find value for future games, because what if a team has 2 or 3 of those strange results in a row, and then the marketplace is going to say, okay, I got to raise this one quite a bit because they've just had 80 to 78 game. It doesn't matter that they place low. All these are going really high. And then we get the line that's inflated by 5 points. And that little bit of inflation, how many of these games are down? I mean, it goes down to 3, 4, 5 points or fewer very frequently. So I'm looking for those little bumps.
That little extra bit of value, it definitely takes time, right, to start to appreciate those in the market, to be able to identify them. And shot quality, I love shot quality, obviously big proponent, arguable face of the brand, still a crazy thing to say out loud sometimes, but I came to shot quality and I got together because I was using it independently before I ever came here. And you can, there's no, you can replicate shot quality by just watching games. That's the beauty of it, right? So like you can tune into those games that you felt like, wait a minute, like they were hitting everything, like those tough shots going down, all that. But SQ lets you sort of like not have to be there, eyes on the game, scouring box scores yourself, trusting that, good players are accounted for being good instead of just an average. So it is super helpful. I love I guess maybe having that second, almost an opinion compared to just the box score. And this isn't just to promo SQ. We love SQ. To give any guests who have never used SQ on the Justin Perri Show a free month, which is a fun little thing we're doing. And if you at home want to try it out, Kyle definitely will hopefully have some good codes and discounts as a good friend of SQ. But this isn't fully SQ over here. A little blurred lines. No, please, no. You can go on as long as you want. I'm never going to say no. It's always great. We just had a fun night on BetCast. I hit an NBA bet. Couldn't really touch anything else on college. I think everybody and their mom bet Miami, and it's a little embarrassing to say we took them live, even though they were losing. But no, please, it's obviously a huge part of my strategy too. I really can't talk about betting without it. Even I try not to be too partial around here, but like if we're going to get into the nitty gritty and how we approach it, the two of us, like you're going to hear about SQ just naturally.
Yeah, it's. I just think, and I promise I'm not trying to cut some commercial.
No, please.
For people who are listening, I wasn't prompted to say this. I think shot quality is cool because it's so unique, it's so much different than the rest. There are tons of great sites out there. Shot quality not being the only one, and I know you know that there are tons of great sites out there for analytics in college basketball, but. Two things, some people say like, why don't you just use one site? Like, why should I use one site when there's this many good ones out there? Like, you want more tools in your toolbox. And second, a lot of the other sites do things more similarly. And shot quality kind of stands out as having a unique kind of innovative way of thinking, in my opinion, where you're looking at data that's not going to be the exactly the same as everybody else's. I mean, because especially after the fact, you go back and you say, the box score is the box score. The shot quality tells you, wait a minute, this player made a ton of contested threes. This guy's shooting 25% from three for the year. He shouldn't have scored this many points. You're not going to see that somewhere else. So I think it's really helpful to have something that is unique. And for a totals better, I love going back and seeing the afterwards. I like the matchups, obviously, but afterwards seeing, confirming or saying, hey, maybe I got lucky on this one. Sometimes it's okay. Like, I think, frankly, I know you know this, but there are a lot of people who never want to think that they got lucky, right? They always had bad beats. They could have never gotten a lucky win. Sometimes it is good to be able to go back and say, man, I shouldn't have won this, but I did, so maybe I should be careful betting the same thing with this team the next time because I was fortunate. This is not probably where it should have gone. But I think shot quality being so unique is what helps it. It's not a cookie cutter site of something else. It is its own product for sure.
Yeah, it takes a stand in a sense, and that's something that has always resonated to me in terms of some of the feedback. And look, it's unique. It takes a little time to really learn, right? There are going to be, but what I've really taken away from it, and something I think that you said, absent of SQ in terms of just luck, right? You hear like, Billy Walters and the book coming out and the interviews he's been doing. He says every time, like, I'm lucky when I win a bet. I feel lucky every time, and that's one of the OGs telling you, almost the way you want to feel walking away, because it keeps your head on a little bit more level at the end of the day. And SQ can sort of help you sleep at night the same way any expected data does, right? Like, we'll have the same conversations in the MLB season about, using StatCast data, using pitcher list data, using all these expected metrics to truly understand what position you're putting yourself in over time, right? Because our bets aren't over time. Our bets are the single instance in which the game occurs. It's one occurrence, one iteration. And, it's a game. Every sport is such a game of inches. I mean, a basketball rolls off a finger by a hair. That's a rebound compared to a swish. And we talk about air density in baseball season. Like, you're in the wrong park, that fly ball dies on the track. Like, you're betting money, like a reputation, whatever you have on the line. Fantasy sports, there's so much that goes on that lives and dies by this game of literal centimeters, statistical improbabilities, anomalies. I try to think that, like, almost probably half the bets I make win or lose based on being just the really lucky side or the unlucky side. And then what we try to do is in that other 50% in the middle, where maybe, handicapping the matchup really does come down to creating the right or wrong pick, that we want to focus on those. So you don't want to sit there fuming over the pick that you were nowhere close on, that you should have hit. You should be happy that you put yourself in a position where maybe you win it 9 out of the other 10 times it occurs. That's not, like, I don't know. The words bad bet to me are always so funny. There are bad bets. Trust me, there can be terrible bets. But I don't know. It's such a, there's so many buzzwords in gambling. I think it's really good to kind of just keep your focus, stay clear. But anyway, it's late night, baby. We are talking about whatever we want, Kyle. And I'll jump into some of the things we've had here. We had a couple big ones. I took a Horizon ticket, took this Horizon ticket all the way to the end, Kyle. I had Milwaukee 25-1 sitting there, tweeted that it was 70-70, and then it all went to heck. And I'm sitting here just wishing Oakland good luck, I guess. I know hopefully a couple people who took the ticket, we talked about what some hedging strategies would be, but what do you think? Oakland maybe is a tough out in the tournament? Can they cause the right team some trouble here coming out of the Horizon? Or are they just going to be fodder for like a 3 or a 4 seed at best?
I actually had Oakland future for that one. I think that might be the first future I've hit. I haven't really bet too many. I like to usually take some long shots, but Milwaukee was a great play. This is Oakland team. The reason I took Oakland, Townsend can take over a game. He's a beast. I think that's the main reason I think they at least have a chance, depending on the matchup, is because they have a guy that could be a really good player for bigger schools too. This is a really good player. Sometimes in March, those really good players can really carry you. So I think they at least have a chance, but as it does for most teams, it comes down to the matchup. Who are they going to get put against? There are some teams I could think of that I'd be like, no, they're going to lose. This is going to be a really tough one. But I think he's easy to root for too. So, a good coach that has come up short quite a few times. So they're there. The Horizon has been a wild league year after year, but actually, I guess Oakland was the number 1 seed, right?
Yes.
They weren't the favorite in it, but They were like third favorite in the futures odds.
I think Youngstown probably led the way at the top of the market. Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, crazy.
Crazy.
But I don't know. Horizon, I don't think of it as being a conference that usually has a great chance in the any game in the NCAA tournament, but I could see Townsend giving people some trouble.
That it could be fun. I mean, look, I think that's what the special, feeling of March is that a player could take over. We saw it today. I don't know what we were doing as Milwaukee supporters, just letting them get anything and everything towards the end. Maybe some bad shot selection. We'll analyze it tomorrow. Maybe dive into some of the shot quality data. We can actually really quickly take a peek and see what the initial reaction was. I figured we might as well bring it up here and see what the score was on our score center here. But I'm a little worried to see it. Let me just make sure I have all games up. We're only 23 today. What do you think? What we going to see a good result? Okay, that's fair. Initial reaction from shot quality, an 81-85 loss. Actual was 76-83. So look, it's going to happen. I'm sure we can go in here and take a peek. And I would imagine that Trey Townsend, wow, that actually entirely surprises me, Kyle. Not even an overperformance expected at 37 points. So hats off. Trey Townsend took my 25-1 ticket and ran. It's going to happen. It's okay. Now let's talk a little about maybe a couple others. We'll jump around. It's late night. There's no rules. We don't have to go by the full schedule. Are you, do you have anything that you're playing tonight? We still got action going, or are you looking at stuff tomorrow already?
So my other one just came in. Fortunately, that was South Dakota State and Denver under. That one moved down a lot. That's one of those final games in a small conference tournament. Those unders have done really well over the long term. It can be a little bit hard because, this, but the lines move a long way sometimes. And when betting this, and then it moves a ton of points. I hope it doesn't fall in the middle because I don't want clients to miss out on something like that. So fortunately, this one came in quite a bit under. I thought I was really rooting for Merrimack, Justin. Merrimack should have had last year. I feel bad for them. And I was just looking on shot quality there when you were talking, and it looks like they should have won tonight. I wish they would have. Tough for them. Very well coached team. I love the way they play. Came up just short.
NEC, man, what a crazy conference. I'll tell you a team I've been impressed with all season is Lemoyne, the Dolphins. I thought they fought really hard. They covered a couple of those late games, but sitting here looking, that Merrimack score is going to be a little unfortunate. I don't know. Wagner has played them tough all season. I know a couple people had this Wagner team in terms of a future, so hats off to them. You're just not going to cut it with a couple of your major players massively underperforming. I mean, Jordan Durcock had I believe was expected to score something around 15 points per some of the player props out there. He scored 4 on an 11 expectation. So went a little cold, had some big performances from Wagner guys, but this was a classic NEC game at 101 points. Interesting to make note. Do you sitting here now as we sort of have some of these takeaways? You talked about having the pad and paper, being a little bit of an old school guy, not going to make too many GRP jokes and about your hair looking great and the Nautica sweatshirts today. But are you making notes for next season? Do you try to keep track of things that you notice? All right, the fresh rims at Barclays give those first teams entirely crazy amounts of trouble when we score 12 points in 8 minutes, or even if the Missouri Valley totals come down, just keep hammering unders. Are you taking things away? Do you try to qualify them against the reality, the expectation? I don't know. You've been doing this a couple of years more than I have for sure. I'm learning a lot just by always chatting with you, listening in on the spaces that you do. It's a good question though. I don't know. You carry things over year to year?
I absolutely do. And when I watch games, I'm fortunate to kind of have a background in coaching and basketball some too, not at a high level or anything, but even at high school level, middle school level. I love basketball, the game. And when I'm watching, I find notes that I'm like, wait a minute, I need to remember this. Like they're running different sets than they were last time. They're trying to get out and transition quicker. So I do keep track of these things and have little notes that I keep. I'll flag certain teams as teams that I want to play against certain types of team matchup, or I just want to start betting overs with this team because they can't guard, whatever it may be. But I think for me, I like to look for those kind of quirks that most people wouldn't really care about too much. Those a lot of people are not going to care. I remember this; it's been years ago, and I was pretty upset when they changed it. The Big West used to play at the Honda Center, which was a massive hockey arena. And the Big West unders were about exactly like Arch Madness. I mean, it was just free money betting unders almost, 70% unders. I was really upset
Nice.
when they changed that. Like,
Yeah.
it's, I'm like I said, I like to go old school on some of it, but I also like to use the new school stuff too. So I'm kind of that intersection of using both. I'm using baseball savant when it comes to baseball time, things like that, stat caps, like
Yes,
you
sir.
said. At the same time, I'm digging deep to see who the umpire of the game is and looking at their tendencies. I mean, that
Yeah.
matters too. We can talk about that for a time.
Oh, we're gonna have a good summer around here. We are no one's going anywhere when college basketball ends. We got the baseball logo loaded and ready, everything. But yeah, please continue.
There we go. I mean, I like to look at all of it, and I am keeping track of things like that. But along those lines, Justin, can I give and this will kind of segue to tomorrow.
Yeah, please.
So, um, MSG totals. So I went back, ran this query again this afternoon because I wanted to make sure everything was fresh. All right, so full game totals at MSG of 136 or higher. So we're not talking a really uh, out there number.
Not a crazy mark at all.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. 136 or higher are 57.2% in the last 10 years to the under.
Wow.
And if you go first half only, 58.7% to the under, which makes sense to me because you're shooting and it's kind of Madison Square Garden a little bit darker. It's just such a huge arena.
The dark background, the sight lines can be a little different.
And those sight lines can be everything. I mean, you're asking guys to come in and shoot in a place that most of them aren't accustomed to. Obviously St. John's more accustomed to it than other teams.
You wouldn't know sometimes.
Yeah, I know. But if you're going to take this large of a sample size, and the margin too, the margin of this is about 3 points to the under in the 10-year span, which there's a lot of games in that. So 3 points is quite big when you're considering the overs and the unders. It's going more 3 points toward the unders on average. This is not a fluke. I mean, it's not, and everybody knows it. I mean, Justin, I'm looking at the lines for tomorrow right now. I see some people have already bet some of the Big East unders, like Providence, Georgetown under has already gone down. DePaul Villanova hasn't gone down, which isn't really shocking. I mean, DePaul hasn't been guarding anybody. So
no team totals against DePaul, right? Shout out mid-major Matt for that one.
Thank you. Yeah, I was gonna say mid-major Matt actually in my DMs there last week was like, I've been killing it with these, and I was like, man, that was a good thought. Really, really been crushing it, and they haven't even been close. So, but something to keep in mind when you're looking at these Big East games is that these are games that mean a lot to these two teams, or at least to most of them. Maybe DePaul, is just ready to be done at this point. I don't want to bet a DePaul under, frankly.
No.
But
no.
There's going to be plenty of games that mean a lot to both of these teams in the Big East tournament. So I think betting the under sooner rather than later would make sense for people viewing or listening here, because I think other people are going to know about this trend too.
I think so as well. I mean, we have what time we start at MSG tomorrow. It looks like, I'm just going through, Xavier Butler begins at 4. I think that's the first game. I know we have a little bit earlier action in a few tournaments. We do have some day game stuff. We start early in Brooklyn again tomorrow. I think George Mason and St. Joseph's tip off the action. And then ACC, Big 12, some conference, so some American Conference USA as well. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. It's a big day. ACC. I'm excited. It is officially deep into Champ Week. You talk about some of those plays tomorrow. I sent out some futures. I know you do. You dabble in futures. Is there anything that you really love that you really wanted to give out? You don't have to give out anything. I know it's not always easy. I haven't fully prepared for tomorrow yet either. I'm going to lop off the show in a few here and start making some picks. But we got some good games. Is any team standing out? Anything you placed on a tournament starting tomorrow? I know. Look, Houston's kind of the talk of the town right now. Some shops hanging them, as literally a minus 120, minus 130 out there to win the Big 12. Any thoughts on tomorrow's slate? Anything crazy standing out to you?
I bet Ryder in the MAAC at 8-1. I think James is the best player there. I also took Niagara kind of after talking to Kiev, Jeff Nadeau, some of the other guys that were in the chat there last night with the spaces. Corby Craig, another really sharp guy. That we've got a lot of good guys in there. Joey. We got several people in there that we kind of just bounce ideas off each other. So I took Niagara 23-1 as well. Niagara, I was going to say, I don't know how they're doing tonight.
They are down 2 early.
Siena better not beat them.
I doubt they will.
Yeah, it is what it is. Not a large bet or anything, but no. I would still think Niagara's probably going to be pretty good there. But I think that Ryder was a team in the preseason that was picked taking a lot of bad shots, or Siena
50% of their shots are bad right now. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It looks like they're basically winning on what they have 23 shots taken compared to nothing crazy 20, but yeah, getting more shots up. I would not be. I think we're okay with our Niagara future right now. But anyway, sorry to interrupt you. Always like checking in, seeing how things are looking.
No, we're good. But I think Ryder is the team that I really like that could win this conference tournament. I think their upside is really high. They were picked preseason number 1. I think they have the best player in the conference. Now, I will say, the MAAC is wide open. There's a ton of teams that could win it. You could name a team, and if it's not Siena, then I'd say they probably have a chance. It wouldn't be the strangest thing ever. But I think that Boardwalk Hall, where that's being played as well. Another note is those have been pretty good to unders too. One of the unders I played tonight was Manhattan and Iona under. Almost went into overtime. Fortunately, it didn't. But
was it a 1 point? Did Iona cover? It was like a 6 or 7 point spread, right?
No, I think Iona won by 3. They fouled.
So they definitely didn't cover.
Yeah, Manhattan had a chance to tie the game at the free throw line and didn't make the free throws. So fortunately, 6 point win. Okay. So this is, to me, this is a spot where things are wide open. But if you take a team, I guess the other way I would look at that is I want to take a team that's not reliant on just shooting threes. Because if you're going to a place that's a very different venue, let's be honest, the MAAC gyms are not like the biggest arenas. They're not, Big Ten, SEC type arenas. If you go to Boardwalk Hall, a pretty nice place, bigger, unique sight lines. Again, I feel like we're talking about sight lines quite a bit, but this is the way I think, Justin.
It's important. It's important.
And it is a totals better. It matters for sides too, frankly, because you don't want a team that's shooting half their shots from 3-point range. So to me, I think this is one to look for underdogs or unders, because I think we'll see lower scoring games in the MAAC, and some of those teams that are catching a decent amount of points might be catching too many because teams are pretty even there. There's not a big difference. And if you're thinking it's going to be lower scoring, then that obviously correlates.
Yeah, no, it does. It's tough. It's not easy. And I think, these first half unders for me, especially kind of have this appeal, and maybe it has to do with familiarization, especially in a team's first game. I don't know. That's sometimes I try to get those human thoughts out of my head sometimes, but there's also plenty of merit to those types of strategies where, it might not exactly, you might not hit the hammer, you might not hit the nail directly on the head, but you're approaching the right ideas, right? I mean, we see totals totally fall off at the end of these games when it really comes down to that last bucket, and defense is paramount and everyone's playing tight, hands are up. It's the biggest moments of most of these young men's career. I don't know how to properly use my grammar. I'm a college basketball analyst. Just a joke. I'm decent with my grammar, but nonetheless, these kids are playing some of the most important minutes of their lives. They're giving their everything. The defense becomes super important, and especially getting settled in early, trying to break down a defense, figure out what works, especially in conference tournaments where maybe coaches have seen each other a lot. They know how to scheme against each other. First half unders, man. It's been great. So yeah, no, appreciate your thoughts on that. Any specifics? So maybe going to that MAC for the first half under. Got some interesting games. Of course, we're hoping our Niagara team is still there. I got a Purple Eagles shirt in the closet, actually, that I got to break out if they go on a decent enough run. But Tuesday's action is definitely an interesting one. I mean, some of the bigger conference tournaments are coming out. I know we mentioned it really quickly, but everyone loves the big ones. Any thoughts, any dark horses on the Big 12 conference, which, my good friend Drake Toll and Locked On Big 12 podcast, which I was privileged to join, will be happy to hear. I still consider the best conference in college basketball. Who do you think's cutting the nets, raising the trophy? Dark horse, Houston, either side of it.
I mean, I think Houston will win, but I can't bet minus 130, minus 120. I mean, I can't bet a future like that. So if I'm looking to try to find value there, maybe Baylor, because they get an easier path with Kansas being the way that they are. I mean, Kansas is kind of punting here. I mean, Justin, isn't it crazy that Cincinnati's favored against Kansas now tomorrow? I mean, this is wild.
After what they looked like against West Virginia, man, I don't know. Maybe they were just sleepwalking, thinking that, all right, like the rest of us, West Virginia on the road. And man, I took Cincy live minus. Just take a wild guess what the spread was. I got absolutely like minus 5.5, Kyle. They won by 5. They were barely losing. It was so I had a tragic day. I had LaSalle minus the 2. They missed a free throw to push. I don't look, college basketball. You got to be able to live with the highs, live with the lows, zoom out. I try to honestly look at things a little bit more, less day to day. It's just there's plenty of emotion. It's difficult if you sit there and you're like, oh yeah, sports betting, I'm fine, doesn't affect me. You're probably lying. I mean, trust me, no one wants their pick of the day to win more than me, right? And no one, and it surpasses the actual financial amount I have on it at this point. And that's
absolutely
something that we as people who get up here and give our opinions, there's more. We stand much more to gain than just the dollars that we personally put on it. And look, I don't know how much I would have to put on it for that to balance out. I've never really wanted to approach that level, but love taking it seriously. Love being here with you, Kyle. We're not going to stay too long. We're having a great time. Really appreciate all you guys tuning in with us, hanging out, talking some college hoops, trying to do this as much as possible. I know my schedule is packed. We actually just announced today, Kyle, that we're going to be doing the live betting show with Shot Quality every single day the rest of the week. Yeah, wow. We're not taking any days off, so we'll be doing that tomorrow night, late night with the Pacific slate. So like a 9:45 show, back on Thursday, do it again Friday, and then one last time Saturday before the big dance. We're going to be in Vegas for the big dance. I don't even know. Like I fully feel the Rothstein effect. We're not sleeping. You can't even tell how tired I am. But I want the people to know where they can keep up with your stuff, Kyle, because I have been, since like day one, since we met last year when I started working with Shot Quality, I've been super impressed with your process. You are calculated, I have to say. You're so calculated. I'm so impressed. Like I'm rapid fire. I like to play the board, exercise my edge, but you're just like, you really exercise that target in your profile picture, man. You throw those bullseyes. Tell the people where they can find it, how they can get involved. You're a reliable, accurate handicapper. So excited that you joined me this evening on Late Night.
Yeah, I appreciate it. First of all, I echo your thoughts about the, like I care way more if the people who follow me are winning than me. A lot of times,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, okay, I'm going to win long term, but person A here might not understand that. So I really want to help people win in general. And I also wanted to say, Toasty over there in the comments, Boise State. I really do like Boise State futures. I think the Mountain West is good. I mean, we've had many years, Justin, where people have said Mountain West doesn't win in the big dance. San Diego State did it last year. It wouldn't shock me if somebody makes a good run from the Mountain West again this year. Now, who it will be, there's plenty of opportunities. Boise State, Nevada, somebody. But I think Boise State futures have some value. And, in general, I think that's probably the tournament I want to watch the most of any. Because it's so wide open this week. So I will say I know I didn't give any specific games that I really like a lot tomorrow.
That's all right. Yeah.
I haven't bet anything tomorrow yet, but I do lean the MSG unders. Also, kind of looked at Vandy and Arkansas under as well was one of my leans,
Okay.
but just kind of an ugly game there. How much do you trust the defense of Vandy? So I just wanted to give the people at least some leans from the jump. But I will say, I appreciate getting to come on here. We can just kind of converse about this and talk about strategy, stuff like that. It's not we have to do this, we have to do that, because we've all done those types of segments where it's like you point A, point B, and then you're done no matter what.
Yep.
So it's nice to be able to converse. You can check out my work at huntersportspicks.com. I have a free picks newsletter there. I'll be sending out some stuff. I'm going to be doing a March Madness contest next week too. I've had people ask me like, who's sponsoring it? Like, I'm sponsoring it myself. So I'm just paying the money out. Like if there's some great sponsor out there watching, then you can get a hold of me. Otherwise it's just going to be me doing that. But
anyone know anyone in the sports betting industry that likes to spot? I might know someone for you, Kyle. But hey, no. In all seriousness.
But no, check out huntersportspicks.com. You can follow me there on Twitter, X at Kyle Hunter Picks. I do the Bet US college basketball show Thursdays, Friday, and we're doing Saturday now too.
Nice.
A fun show with some sharp minds there. So I'll give that a quick plug. And hey, Shot Quality does great work. Justin, you do a great job.
Thank you.
It's great to be on here with you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate it. Yeah, please look into what Kyle's been doing. He is just one of the best guys. The Spaces on Twitter. Make sure you go at Kyle Hunter Picks. Follow that. Brings in, I love people who support the community. It's not that big of a community, Kyle. Like it's not that many of us who really do it, and you get to know the names, you get to know the people, and bringing people together to create unique conversations about the sport that we love. Between the two of us, an ungodly amount of college basketball watched this year, every season, and still to come. And that's the fun. That's what we do every single episode. We try to definitely recommend you guys taking a peek. The show is, we host panels, different discussions. Of course, these live streams are a little bit more current, so they don't go on the podcast. You can still catch them on YouTube. Late nights are always on YouTube. Always can watch them again and all that stuff. But we do host panels Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll be back tomorrow. It's bracketology week during the daytime. I'm going to have Bracket Dom, one of the best in the last 5 years on Bracket Matrix, will be joining us. A couple other guests as well. Going to be fun talking about some of those dark horses, overseeded, underseeded teams already taking shape, who the committee is evaluating, how they're doing it, what everybody thinks. We had Rocco Miller on yesterday, Brad Evans. I mean, we've hosted amazing panels. I've had Evan Mia, the data leads from Shot Quality, Jim Root. I mean, we keep adding names. And now Kyle Hunter, the latest. Thank you so much for joining the Justin Perri Show here late night. We'll be back tomorrow. You'll see us. We'll do late night shows. Kyle will rejoin, but definitely make sure to follow him at Kyle Hunter Picks. Follow the show everywhere at Justin Perri Show. I don't know. It's late. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out. We will see you next time.